We're creating this React.js personal portfolio website. We have a nice hero section here with some introductory text, a button that we can use for whatever we want. We have a Contact Me button here that takes us down to our form. We can use our navigation up top here to navigate. We see that we are highlighting which section we are on. We go down to our expertise, showcase our skills here, front-end, back-end UX. We have an About Me section with some text and image. We also have a portfolio section where we can be taken to our GitHub or to the individual projects we want. And then we have our customer testimonials where we can write reviews from clients or employers. We have a nice footer with the navigation again and our social media links. If we click up here, we go back. If we click home, we go back to the top. This portfolio is also mobile responsive. We can see we have our navigation now is in hamburger menu. We have our hero section, and basically we are using Flexbox to render the content differently and just make it one under the other. We also have our link here and a nice animation with our hamburger menu turning into an X or lines. By the end of this video, you will have created your own React personal portfolio website and you will have deployed it on Netlify for the world to see. Let's get started. The first thing we're going to do in our VS Code is we're going to add a folder. So we're going to create a new folder. I'm just creating it on my desktop. I'm going to call it React.js portfolio, and then I'm just going to drag and drop it within the Explorer like so, and that's going to open up our folder as a workspace. Now we can work within this folder. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to check if we have Node and NPM installed, which is necessary for a React project. So we're going to right click here in the Explorer, we're going to open an integrated terminal. You're going to check that you are open within this workspace, and we're going to say Node-v. And you see here that we have Node installed. It's installed globally. It's version 18.16. So if you don't have that Node installed, go to nodejs.org. And then you can just download for Windows or Mac. You can go for either one of these, either one is fine. So run through the installer, and once that is installed, you are gonna go and try this Node-v again, and then hopefully you should have that version coming up. If not, if you get any errors, then it means you don't have Node installed yet, and you need to install that before continuing. Now we're also going to check if we have installed npm correctly. So we're going to write npm-v, and there we go. We also have npm installed. Normally that should be part of this installation. Now that we have both Node and npm installed, we're going to say npx create React app. And then we are going to say space dot to create the React app within this folder and not a subfolder, which is the standard practice if you were to now call the app something. So dot makes you create it within this folder, and hit enter, and that's going to take a minute. Now we have the shell for our React project set up. Now I want you to go into the description of this video, and you are going to go to the link, and you're going to find the package.json folder, and you're going to find the package.json file. You're going to drag and drop that in here, and you're going to overwrite or replace this file here. Because in that way we ensure that we both have the correct React version and all the dependencies installed together, so that in the future, maybe 1 year, 2 years from now, when you're watching this video, and these numbers have updated, this project is going to stay the same and it's going to work for you in the same way. In addition to the package.json file, in your download from the description, you should have a git ignore file. You're going to also overwrite the one we have here, so that we also are ignoring the same things. You're going to hit yes if you get asked for that. And in addition to that, you're going to delete this public folder here. Delete that, and you're going to drag the public folder from the installation in there. We're going to copy the folder like so. So now we have also the images that we are going to use for our project. as well as our logo. So we can close these files now. Now, because we have added some dependencies and maybe also rewritten the React version, we're gonna hit npm e to install all of these dependencies. Now let's try to run our app, npm start, and then we see that a new tab in our browser opens with our app running. We can close the terminal for now. We can also close this package.json. We can delete the setup test. We can delete report web vitals. We can delete the logo. We can delete, we're keeping the index, we're keeping the index CSS. Now we're actually gonna delete that as well. We're gonna delete app test, and we're gonna keep app.js and app.css. Those three files we're gonna keep in the source. We're actually gonna just target all of the CSS here. We're gonna delete it like so to start fresh. We are also gonna go into the app CSS, app.js I mean. We're going to delete the import from the logo because it doesn't exist anymore. It's giving us a bug. We're going to delete that here. Also, we're going to turn on word wrap so that our code fits on our page. Then we're going to go into the index here, and we are going to delete this import from the index CSS and import word wrap here as well. The web vitals, delete that. We're also just going to leave the div class name app. We're going to delete everything inside here. Yeah, like so. We're going to delete this web vitals part here. Now we are ready to start our app fresh. First off, we're going to create some new folders in our source. One is going to be called data. We're not going to do anything or put anything in there yet, but we're going to make it ready for the data we're going to be using for our portfolio, for our titles, for our skills, things like this. Next folder we're going to create in our source is going to be called pages with capital P. Inside of pages, we're going to create a new folder called home. And inside of home, we are going to create a new file, a new folder called home screen. And inside of home screen, we are going to call or create a file called index.jsx, like so. Then within our home folder, we're going to create a new file called about capital M me.jsx. JSX is how we write something that looks like a combination of HTML and JavaScript in React. Then as well within our home tab, we're going to create a new file. We're going to create all the files here so we have them. ContactMe.jsx. So these are going to be all the sections on our page. And a new file. We're going to say Footer.jsx. And a new file. HeroSection.jsx. And a new file. All of these files are within the home folder. MyPortfolio.jsx. And a new file. MySkills.jsx. And a new file. Navbar.jsx. And the last file here, Testimonials.jsx. So essentially what all of these files are, all these JSX files, and you can see also by how they are written, these are components that we are rendering one after the other on our page, and the footer is the component for the footer, the About Me keeps the About Me picture, etc., etc. And this is how we kind of section up any React project by creating separate components. Let's start in our hero section. We're going to write export default function hero section, and then we are going to say return, and then we're just going to return an h1. We're going to say hero section. This is just so that we can see if we are returning this. So this is essentially how a component is created. You use this syntax, export default function, hero section, the name of the component, and then whatever you want to return. And this is just basic HTML inside of this return statement here. And the way we use it is that we go into our, let's see, our home screen here. We're going to go into our index. We are going to import this hero section that we just made. Hero, and we see that it's already being auto-completed for me. Import hero section. Turn on word wrap here. We are going to export, same thing, default, and then function. This is going to be our home. And like so, and then we are going to return, and in here we are going to write some empty brackets called React fragments. And this is basically just, we don't put anything in here so that we avoid having just empty divs taking up space in our code when we now render it. So we just remove any content within these brackets, because normally you could write, div in here, and that would be perfectly fine. It would work, but it would take up a lot of space. It would create a lot of structure that is unnecessary. So in React, we often use these empty brackets called fragments. And inside of this empty fragment, we are gonna reference our hero section, our component that we just made. And we don't need an ending closing bracket for our component. We just end it like so. Self-closing, so to speak. So let's save that, and nothing is showing up yet because we haven't set up our paths yet. So let's go into our app.js file. We are gonna import a couple of things here. We're gonna import React from React. Then we are gonna import curly brackets browser router as router, as well as importing route and routes, and that's gonna be from React router DOM. Save that, view word wrap like so. Under here we're gonna import our home from pages home screen. Inside of this app we are just gonna say home like so, and we don't need the ending one here, like so. And here we can see, so this app is functioning as our navigation. Here is also where we're going to put our navbar and our footer, I think, pretty sure. And this is going to work as our navigation. And our index is kind of just rendering our app. That's how React is made. It's basically just going to stay like this, only rendering our app. Whilst in the app, this is where we're going to have our different paths to our footer, to our navbar, and then in our index, the actual JSX, the actual component, that's going to be rendering every single of the other components. So it's components within components within components, and that is the essence of React. And we're going to be rinse and repeating this process a couple of times. So if it's a bit unclear for you now, don't worry. It's going to be much clearer with practice. But now we are ready to create our individual components. In this hero section, it's pretty much going to be basic HTML. So it's going to be very familiar to you. In our hero section, let's just remove everything in the return statement. And then we are going to create parentheses here. Inside of here, we are going to create a section because we are going to keep our hero section, of course, in a section. And then we are going to give this section an ID of hero section. We are also going to give it a class. Let's see. Class name, and we're using class name and not class in React because class is used for something else. So to not confuse the two terms, the HTML attribute of class, we are just simply calling class name. So that's just something to get used to. Section, but it is the exact same thing. We can close our Explorer to give us a bit more space. And then inside of the section here, we are going to have a div. We are going to give this div also a class name of hero section content box, like so. And then inside of this div, we are going to have another div. We are going to give it a class name as well. And it is going to be called hero section content. Save that. And inside of this content, we are going to have a paragraph with the class name of section title. And then inside here, we're going to say, hey, I'm, oops, like so, I'm John. Save that, and here we can see that text turns up in real time. Under here, we're going to have an H1. We're going to give it a class name of hero section title. Inside of here, we are going to create a span with a class name of hero section title color. Inside of here, we are going to write full stack, and then after our span, we are going to add brackets and empty like this. Then we are going to add a break, like so, and we are going to say developer here. Then under our H1, we're going to add another paragraph. We're going to give it a class name of hero section description. Inside here, we're going to write lorem 8, hit enter. That's going to give us lorem ipsum text 8 words. Then we are going to write another break. And after the break, we are going to give another lorem, let's see, 12 or 14. And let's just continue here like so. Hit save. And then under the div, we are gonna add a button. This button has a class name of btn and also of btn primary. And then get in touch, like so. Save that, there's our button. And then outside of this div, in another div, we are gonna give it a class name, HeroSection image. And inside of here, you guessed it, we're gonna put an image. And that image is gonna be tied to our folder here that we have made in our public folder. So that's gonna be an image, hero underscore image dot png, and the alt text we're gonna say hero section, like so. Let's just zoom out a bit so we get kind of a desktop layout here. Then we are done with our hero section. Now let's style this. So we can open our app.css file, which is currently empty. Here we're gonna add some global CSS, like so. And then we're gonna say body. We are gonna add a margin of 0. We're gonna add the font family of, let's see, Roboto, like so. And the fallback is gonna be sans serif, like so. Then we're gonna add this WebKit font, let's see, font smoothing, and that's gonna be Roboto, and sans serif as well. Then we're gonna add MOZOSX font smoothing, and that's gonna be for Roboto and sans serif as well. And lastly here, font, and then we're gonna choose style is gonna be normal, like so. Then we are gonna target our H1, our H2, our H3, our H4, our H5, and our H6, and our P. And we are gonna give all of them a margin of 0. Like so, giving us a fresh start. Then we are going to target. Then we are going to target our root. And we are going to say, we're going to create a couple of variables here. We are going to create, the first one is going to be hashtag 5E3BEE. Then we're going to create a heading, color, hashtag 282938, and BG for background, shade, and that's gonna be hashtag F5FCFF, And furthermore, GitHub is gonna be hashtag E62872, like so. And then dark blue is gonna be hashtag 1C1E53, and black, black is just gonna be hashtag 6 zeros, like so. And white is gonna be the same for 6 Fs, like so. Then let's move on to our button, and we're gonna give it a font family of Roboto as well. We're gonna give it a display of inline block. We are gonna give it a padding of 14 pixels by 32 pixels. We are gonna give it a font size of 16 pixels. We are gonna give it a font style of normal. We are gonna give it a font weight of 400. We are gonna give it a line height of 24 pixels. We are gonna give it a cursor of pointer. We are gonna text align it to the center. And we are gonna text decoration to none. Then we're gonna give it a border radius of 4 pixels. Then we're gonna write WebKit border radius of 5 pixels. Save that. Shift Alt down. We're gonna copy that down. We're gonna say, instead of WebKit, we're gonna say MOZ border radius. We're gonna copy this one as well 2 times. Instead of MOZ, we're gonna say MS, and in the last one, O. These are just to take any device into account. Transition, background color, 0.5 seconds. And then we're gonna say, we're gonna copy these 4 down here. And we are gonna target the border radius. We're gonna hit Shift D 4 times, and then we target all of these. And then we can change them by writing transition. There we go. And then we're also just gonna copy this property here, and we're gonna target the 5 pixels, Shift D, and we're gonna Control V. So next up, we're gonna target our BTN outline primary, and we are gonna give that a color of variable, and that's gonna be primary, like so. And then we're gonna give it a background color of variable, and that's gonna be white, and then a border of 1 pixel, solid, and then variable, primary, like so. Now let's copy, paste this down, Shift Alt, Shift Alt down, and then we're gonna say, after this, we're gonna say hover. So when we hover over our button, we are gonna have a color of white and a background color of primary. And we are gonna remove the border. Then we are gonna copy these down, and we're gonna say button primary and button primary here as well. The color for the button primary is gonna be white. The background color is gonna be primary. And the border is gonna be primary as well. And for the hover, it's gonna be flipped here as well. Primary and white. Let's save that. And as we can see, we have our button with the nice hover effect that switches or flips the colors. Perfect. Now for our GitHub button, GitHub, and then color, and then variable, white, and background color, variable, GitHub, border, variable, GitHub, and display flex, direction, row, and justify content to the center, and align items to the center as well, and box shadow of 0, 1 pixel, 2 pixels, 0 RGBA, 16, 24, 40, and 0.95, like so. And we're going to give it a gap of 16 pixels. So we don't have this one yet, but we are just defining it here with the other buttons while we're at it. And for the hover, btn GitHub hover, we are going to say that the color is going to be variable GitHub, and the background color is going to be variable white, like so. And then we are done with our global CSS. Now we're going to style the actual hero section specifically. So global section ends here, like so. Global CSS, global CSS, like so. And then let's target our main headings, like so. And we are going to target our heading 1 here. That's going to be H1, font, size 56 pixels, and our font weight is gonna be 700, and align height is gonna be 67 pixels. Then we can kind of just copy paste this down, Shift Alt down. This is heading 2, H2. We're gonna give this 48 pixels. We're still gonna have 700. We're gonna give it 58 here, like so. And let's copy it down. Oops, forgot to put a number, 2. Let's copy it down for the third one as well. 3. Font size, we're gonna say 24. 700 font weight, and 34 for the line height. Save that. Then under here, we are gonna give styling to the paragraphs, text, large, medium, and small. So starting with the body, 1. So the text, large, is gonna be color, variable, dark blue, and the font size is gonna be 18 pixels. The font style is going to be normal. Font weight is going to be 400, and the line height is going to be 27 pixels. This one we can copy down twice. So 1, 2. For number 2, it is going to be dark blue. It's going to be 16 pixels, normal 424, like so. And for number 3, also let's change this one, target text LG, and change it to MD, and here to SM for small. So for the small one, it's going to be black. It's going to be 14 pixels. It is going to be normal 421. There we go. We are just creating a couple of more stylings that are across the different sections before we are moving on to the hero section. So the section titles and the skills and about me. So section title. So here we're gonna have color. It is gonna be variable, heading color. We're gonna have font size 21 pixels. We're gonna have text, align, center. We're gonna have font style of normal. We're gonna have font weight of 600. Then we are gonna have line height of 32 pixels, and we're gonna have display of flex, and we are gonna have align items to flex start, like so. Then we are gonna target the portfolio, testimonial, and contact me. And here we're going to target the subtitle. In here, it's going to be color. It's going to be variable, heading color, font size of 16 pixels, font weight of 600, line height of 24 pixels. Under here, we are going to have section titles ends. If you're wondering how to comment out code, it's Control-K-U, and you can just hit that to comment or to comment out. So that is the shortcut for that. Now let's create our hero section style here. We are going to target our hero section as a whole, and we are going to display it as a grid. It is going to have a grid template columns of repeat 2 by 1 fraction, putting them side by side like this. We're going to give them a padding of 133.333 pixels and 85.333 pixels, as well as 133.333 pixels, like so. So that is starting to look like our page on the desktop, at least, like so. We see our hero section there. We can make our code a bit smaller, like so. So we can see our desktop here. I'm minimizing it so that we can see the desktop view, even though it's relatively small screen. Then we're gonna align the items to the center. We are gonna justify the content space between, and we are gonna give it a gap of 32 pixels, like so, and a background color of variable BG shade. There we go. Then under our hero here, we're gonna have hero section content box, like so. I'm gonna display that to flex. We are gonna give the flex direction to column. We are gonna align items to flex start, and we are gonna give them a gap of 32 pixels. Then we are gonna copy this down once, hero section content without the box, display flex, everything the same apart from 21.333 pixels here. And then under here, we are gonna target the hero section content box and the button here. And we're gonna say margin top is gonna be 21.333 pixels. Oops. Pixels. Like so. Nothing is happening here. We might have written our hero section content box. That seems to be correct. Hero section content. Hero section content. That's why we are missing in our HTML. We are missing our double dash here. So let's go back to the hero section. Let's say there, content. Let's add one there. And that's fixing that thing there. Is our button as well, content box. That should be, and that should actually be double as well here, like so. Okay, now it's looking as intended. Now after our button, we want to have a hero section title. And here we want to type it the color, give it a variable of heading color. Then we want to say font size 74.667 pixels and font weight of 700 and line height of 90 pixels and align self to stretch like so. Under here we want to have our hero section title and the color, and we want to give it a color of variable primary. Let's copy this down. Hero section, instead of title color, it's going to be description with one, so section description with one line. Color is going to be dark blue. Font size is going to be 24 pixels. Font weight is going to be 400, and the line height is gonna be 36 pixels. Then we are gonna target our hero section image, and we're gonna display it flex, and then copy down this hero image, and then the image within there, we're gonna say it's gonna have a width of 100%, and same with the height, like so. Okay, so now if we decrease the size, we see that it takes half the size here. Great. So we are done with our hero section. Let's close that and let's just comment out here so we know where we are. Hero section style ends. There we go. Now we're going to create our nav bar up top here. So we can close our HeroSection.jsx. We open our Explorer and we can go into our nav bar here. And let's create the nav bar actually. So we're starting in the nav bar by importing, let's see, we're going to import use state to keep track of the different states, aka if we have our nav bar open or not, and on which position we're actually on. Then we are gonna import use effect from React like this. Save that. We're also gonna import, not React, we already have that. We're also gonna import link from and that's gonna be React scroll, like so. Then we're gonna create our function, which is gonna hold our navbar, similar to our hero section. And inside of here, we're gonna create a constant. So first we're gonna create the functionality to set the navbar active, which kind of section we're on, if we're on the hero section, if we're on the about section. And then we're also going to add the functionality for the hamburger menu to close and open. So here we are going to set nav active, and then we're going to set nav active here, and that's going to be equal to use state. And we're going to set that initially to be false, so that the nav is not active by default. Like so. Let's also view and word wrap. Like so. Then under here, we are going to add a constant. It's going to be toggle nav. It's going to be equal to this function, which is gonna say when the toggle nav, it's gonna set nav active and not, if it's not, nav active, like so. Then const close menu equals to another function here, set nav active, and we're going to set it back to false. So this function is going to open our nav, and this is going to close our nav. And then we're going to use the use effect here. And then inside of here, we are going to have another function. We're going to create a constant. We're going to say handle resize. It's going to be equal to this function here. Let's not forget our equal sign here. And then if window dot inner width and capital W width is smaller or equal to 500, we are going to run this code. We're going to close the menu, like so. Then under here, we are going to say window dot add event listener, and we're going to listen to resize, basically if we're resizing the window. And then we want to call the handle resize function. And then under here, we want to return a function, and that is gonna be window dot remove event listener, and that's gonna be the resize function and the handle resize, like so. Prettier is giving us an error. Let's see. Prettier is giving us a error here, and that is probably because of this React here. Let's write it like this. Oops. React. Let's save, and that fixed it. Okay. We are handling our resize. Okay, that's good. And then in between this blue curly bracket, we are gonna say comma, and we're gonna add an array here, an empty array. And we're done with this one. Then we are gonna create another one called use effect. And inside of here as well, we are gonna add another function if window dot inner width is smaller, let's see, smaller or equal to 1200, then we want to close the menu, like so. Here as well, we want to have an empty array. Then under this use effect, we are going to write a return statement. Here's where we're actually going to return our JSX and basically our HTML. Inside of here, we are going to return a nav. Let's write it like this, nav. Inside of this nav, we're going to give that nav a class name. And because we want to give this class here, we want to change what the class name is depending on if it's active or not. So we want to basically add the class active to the class name, whether the menu is open or not, or that specific section is open. So what we do then, instead of quotes, we give it curly brackets, and inside of these curly brackets we want to write backticks like so, and nav bar $, and then curly brackets inside here. And here we're basically giving it a property. We're going to give it a nav active. Then we're going to ask, is the nav active? In that case, we are going to say, call it active. And if it's not active, we are going to say add nothing. So basically here, the class name is going to be, if the navbar is active, it's going to say navbar active, like so. But if it's not active, it's just going to say navbar, because this is an empty string. So it's either this or this that we're adding. Then inside of the nav, we want to create a div. Inside of that div, we want to give it an image. The source is going to be ./image/logo.svg, like so. And we also want to give it a logo ipsum, like so. Now in order to see if we are actually returning anything and if things are working, let's export default nav bar here so that we can import it into our app. Let's see here, and actually test whether it is working and what we are writing is showing up as intended. So in our app.js file, we want to import our navbar. So before home, we want to import navbar, like so. And then we are going to make some changes in the nav. We're going to keep that the same. Instead of home here directly, we are going to say, let's remove that for now. We are going to call the router here, like so. And then inside here, we're going to have a div, and then inside of this div, we are going to call it navbar. so. Save that. We see that our logo is showing up. Now we removed home, so it disappeared. But we see that what we have returned here so far in our navbar is showing up. That's our logo here. Okay, then under our navbar, we are gonna add roots, like so. Inside of this roots, we're gonna add one root. And here we are gonna give them some attributes. We're gonna give it a path. And that is just gonna be slash. And we're gonna give it an element. And that's gonna be to the home component, like so. And then we see we have our first root to the home component. We're basically going to stay at the home page. We don't have several pages, but if we wanted to add several pages now, this is how we would do it. We would just add the different roots here. So the slash is just the normal URL, but then if we wanted to add an About Me page or a contact page, we would just write that here and add another root, and then we can click between them using the router functionality. Let's add another route here, or route. Route, I guess, is the correct way to say it. And we're just gonna copy paste this, like so, inside of this one. And it's gonna be the path for, let's see. Like so, a star there, and the element is gonna be, it's gonna be a div, and we're gonna write 404 not found, and this is gonna be the path in case somebody writes something, goes to a wrong path in R that doesn't exist, basically. That is gonna give us a 404 message. And you can add all the other pages you want here if you want to. Okay, now we can go back, we can close our app. We can go back to our Navbar.jsx. We have created our logo. Under this image, under the div, we're gonna write an A, and instead of the href here, which we're not gonna have, we're gonna add the class name. Inside of the class name, we are gonna add the curly brackets and then backticks, and this is going to be in the similar fashion we did with the nav active. So this one is going to be called nav hamburger, and then $, curly brackets, and here we're going to give it the nav active, and then if it is active, well, then we're going to add the active on here. And if it's not, we are gonna just add nothing, like so. Then we are also gonna give this an on click. So after the curly bracket here, we're gonna give it an on click, and that's gonna be toggle nav, like so. Then inside of the actual element, the A element, we're going to create a span, and this span is going to have a class. It's going to have a class name of nav underscore underscore hamburger underscore underscore line, like so, and we're just going to copy down that 3 times, like so. These are going to be our 3 bars for our hamburger menu. Then we're done with our hamburger menu. We are going to move on to the actual desktop menu. We're going to create a div here. We're going to give that a class name. Inside here, curly brackets, and then backticks, and then this is going to be called navbar underscore under dash dash items, and then $, curly brackets, nav active. If it is, we're giving you the active word. If it isn't, then nothing. Inside of this div, we are gonna add a UL. Inside of the UL, so UL is for unordered list, we're gonna add a list item, and inside of that list item, we are gonna add a link component, like so. And then inside of that link, we're just gonna write home. As we see, it pops up here, and the link is gonna have some attributes. It's gonna have an on click. That is gonna call close menu, because when we click a one menu item, when we have our nav bar open, we want it to close, so that the menu closes when we go to the new section. Then we also want another attribute here. It's going to be an active class, which is going to be called nav bar active content. Beware where there is 2 lines and where there is 1 for later, so that it's easy to style later. Then we're going to have a spy, and this one is going to be set to true. We're going to have a smooth. It is going to be set to true. We are going to have a offset. It's going to be set to -70. We're going to have a duration. It's going to be set to 500. We're going to have a 2, and it's going to be set to HeroSection. And then we're going to have a class, class name, and it's going to be set to Navbar.jsx Save that. Now our home is ready to be used. Now we can copy everything in the link, including the link, Control-Alt-Down, or Shift-Alt-Down actually. And then here we're going to call the close menu on click, navbar active content stays the same. Everything stays the same apart from the 2. Here we are going to say my portfolio, and that's it. And then class name stays the same as well. And then here we're going to say portfolio. That's our second link. Same way we're going to do with, so Shift-Alt-Down. We are going to change to the About Me. It's going to be called About Me. Same thing here. About Me. And one more time. Next one is testimonials. And testimonials, like so. And then outside of this div, between the nav and the div, we are going to create a new link. And inside of here, we're going to say contact me, like so. And that link is also going to have these attributes, that div, in here, like so. Close menu, and everything stays the same, apart from these 2, contact and contact me. The class name is also going to be different here. Here we are going to have btn, and then btn outline primary, like so. And I see that I have written something wrong. The navbar with the capital B should be lowercase b. So let's make sure to change that. in the active class, lowercase b on all of those. Sorry about that. That should be correct now. In order to target our CSS styling properly later, it needs to be correct. So now we have our navigation menu complete, our JSX. Now we can open our, let's see, our app CSS and add the styling here. So we're going to add that before the hero section actually, because it is actually the first thing that we have at the top, so that we can follow the CSS as the sections come in the same order. So in here we're gonna add a new comment, and that's gonna be navbar style start, and inside here we're gonna target the navbar first. We're gonna say display flex. We are gonna justify the content to space between. We are gonna say align items to the center. We are gonna give it a padding of 15 pixels by 85.333 pixels. We're gonna give it a background of variable, and that's gonna be white. We are gonna give it a box shadow, and that is gonna be 0 pixels, 5.333 pixels, 80 pixels, 0, and then RGBA 0, 0, 0, and 0.1. Then under here we're going to give it a position of fixed, so that when we are scrolling we see that our navbar is actually over the other elements, and it's going to stay over the other elements at the top. Then we're going to say it's from the top 0, it's from the left 0, it's from the right 0, which makes it stretch all over the surface. Then under here we are going to target the navbar items and the UL inside, and we're going to say the list style is going to be none to remove those bullet points. We're going to say the display is going to be flex, and we are going to say align items to flex start, and give it a gap of 42.667 pixels, and the text decoration to none. Then under here we are going to target the navbar items UL and the list, and then the A inside of there, and we're going to say text decoration none. And then for the navbar content we are going to add navbar content, and we're going to say that the color is going to be variable dark blue. The font size is going to be 16 pixels. The font style is going to be normal. I'm going to zoom in here a bit because it doesn't really show the real space. Like so, 75%. That's better. Okay. Then we are going to add some font weight. That's gonna be 400. We are gonna add line height of 24 pixels and cursor of pointer. So let's see, it seems to be working well. Then we're gonna add Navbar active content. So when the content is active, this is the styling we're gonna give it. We're gonna give it a color variable of primary. And then we're gonna signal here that the Navbar style ends like so. And then we are done with our navbar. Now we're gonna move on to our skills section that we're gonna have right under our hero section. So first we can open up our data folder. We're gonna create a new file. We're gonna call it index.json. Hit enter. And in here we're gonna create just an object. We're gonna write skills for the first one. And inside of here, there's gonna be an array with an object. And here we're gonna have an ID of 1. And then let's copy this down 3 times, like so. Take the last one away. Change the second ID to source. And here we're gonna write dot slash product chain 1.png. We're referencing our images in our let's see, our images here. Also, be sure to write everything inside of brackets, the one included. This third ID we're going to change to title, and this one we're going to change to description. And here we want to say front end. And in the last place, let's just give it some lorem. Actually, take away these. Lorem, and here we're going to say lorem ipsum lulor sit amit consectetur adi p sing elite. I'm not memorizing this, I'm just reading it, just so you know. Suspendis varius enim in eros elementum tristic. There we go. You can also just Google lorem ipsum, it's probably much easier. But now we can copy paste this. Everything from the blue line here, and we can just copy paste it down. Let's add a comma here first, like so, and let's copy that down 1, 2, 3 times, because we're gonna be showcasing 4 skills. So change that to 2, 3, and 4. In the second source, we want to have image slash tag 1.png. This is gonna be backend. The description we're keeping the same. The third ID, the source here is gonna be, let's see, image slash feather dash pen dash 2. I think we forgot the image in the top here. We did indeed, image slash. Okay, save that. Should be slash image slash product chain. And same for the fourth one. Change that to 4. Image slash feather feather pen 1. And this is gonna be web flow development, and this is gonna be UI and UX design, like so. So now we can close this JSON file and we can go back to our skills, or actually open MySkills.jsx, as well as our index.jsx, because here we're gonna let's import data from // and then // and then we're gonna go to data and then /index.json file, because now we're gonna use that data we just created. And then we're gonna export default function. I'm gonna call it MySkills, and here is gonna be a return, and inside of here we're gonna have a section, and this section is gonna have a class name of skills -- section, and it also is gonna have an ID of my skills, like so. Turn on word wrap, and then let's just put hello here in this to test it, and then in the index let's copy down the hero section and write my skills instead, and then we'll also import my skills from /myskills, and we see that the hello has shown up here in a tiny little writing. Back in our MySkills.jsx file, we can take away the hello and instead write a div with a class name of portfolio -- container. Inside of here, a paragraph with a class name of section -- title, not tile. And we're gonna write my skills, and then after that an h2 class name skills -- section heading. Inside of here we're gonna write my expertise, like so. After the div we're gonna have another div with a class name skills section container. Inside of here, curly bracket, we're gonna say this data question mark dot skills question mark, and we're gonna map over those skills we just made, and we're gonna say for each item an index. We are going to run this, or return div like so. Be sure to write dot and lowercase map here. That was a mistake there. And inside of this div we are gonna have a key, because otherwise we get an error, and that key is gonna have the index And then we are going to give it a class name of skills section card. And inside of this div, we are going to create another div. It's going to have a class name of skills section image. And inside of here, we're going to create an image. And that image is going to have not a closing tag. We don't need that. But it's going to have some attributes. It's going to have a source, which is going to be set to item.source. So we're referencing the items we made in the JSON file earlier. It's also going to have some alt text. And we're just going to say product chain. There we go. That is our skills being mapped out using JSX and the map function. Instead of hard coding those skills, now we can add as many data points we want, as many skills we want in the JSON file, and we're going to get them all neatly and nicely formatted, each of them, instead of hard coding. Under this div, we are going to have another div with a class name of skills section card content. And inside of that content, we want to have an h3. It is going to have a class name of skills section title. And inside of here, we want to give it the item dot title. Like so, we see they pop up. And we also want to add a paragraph here. We're going to give it a class name, skills section description. And here we're going to also give it that description we made, which is item.description. Save, and we see that those turn up. And that is the beauty of React. We can write all of this code, and we could have had 100 more here. Skills were 1,000 more, but this code would have stayed the same. And then we can separate the code from the actual syntax and layout of the page, which is a very, very neat way of writing bigger projects. Now let's style this section here. We can close MySkills, we can close our index. Let's open our app.css. Let's scroll all the way down. After our hero section style ends, let's create skills style, skills section style. We are going to start with our skills section, and inside of here we're going to display it using flex. Then we are going to give it a padding of 149.33 pixels as well as 85.33 pixels. Then we're going to give it a flex direction of column. We are going to justify the content to the center. We are going to align the items to flex start. And we're going to give it a gap of 106.667 pixels. Then we are going to create skills section heading. In here, color, variable, heading color, and font size of 64 pixels and font weight of 700 and a line height of 77 pixels. Then we're going to target the skills section container, and we're going to display that using flex. Actually, no, we're going to use grid here. Then we're going to justify the content to the center. We're going to align the items to flex start. We are going to give it a gap of 42.6 pixels. We're going to give it a grid template columns of repeat 4/ or comma 1 fraction, like so. Starting to look better and better. Then we're going to target the skills section, not container, but card. And in here we are going to display flex. We are going to give it a padding of 32 pixels. We are going to give it a flex direction of column. We are going to give an align items of flex start. We are going to give it a gap of 32 pixels. We are going to give it a flex, let's see, flex of 100. We are going to give a border radius of 10.6 pixels, and we're going to give it a background of variable BG shade, and lastly a minimum height of 250 pixels. Then we're going to target the skills section card hover. When we hover over it, we're going to give a border bottom of 4 pixels, solid, variable, primary, and then we can see that we are getting our hover effect here as intended. Then we can target, let's just copy down this, Shift Alt down. We're going to target our card, hover, and then also the skills section description, like so. And inside of here, we're going to change that color to variable dark blue. Let's see. Yeah, which changes the color slightly. Then we're going to target the skills section and the image there. We're going to display it using Flexbox. We are going to give it a padding of 13.3 pixels. We're going to justify the content to the center. We are going to give it a align items to the center. And we are going to give it a gap of 13.3 pixels. Border radius of 10.6 pixels. And a background of hashtag FFF or white. And a box shadow 0016 pixels 0 RGBA 000 and 0.1. Awesome. Then on the next line, we are getting close to the end. Skills section card content. We are going to display it using flex. We are going to give it a flex direction of column. We are going to align the items to flex start. We're going to give it a gap of 32 pixels, and we're going to align the self to stretch, like so. Then we're going to target the skills section title, and we are going to give it a color of variable heading color. We're going to give it a font size of 32 pixels. We're going to give it a font weight of 700. We're going to give it a line height of 45 pixels. And then we're going to give it a skills section description. We're going to give color to it of variable black, font size of 21.3 pixels, and font style of normal, font weight of 400, and a line height of 32 pixels. Looking good. And then we're going to write skills style ends. And with that, we are done with our skills section as well. Now we're going to make our About Me section. So let us go and open that JSX file. We're going to write export default function About Me. And inside of here, we're going to return, this is a small section. We're going to return section like so. Inside of this section, we're going to give it an ID of about me. We're also going to give it a class name about section, like so. Inside of the section, we're going to create a div. And this div, we're going to give a class name about section image. And inside of the div, we're going to create an image. The source is going to be ./image/ about me.png, and the alt text is going to be about me. Let's go into our app CSS, or actually let's go into our, index.jsx file. Let's copy this one down and change that with about me and import that as well. And then we can see if there we have our section. It is being imported correctly. Okay, then after the image, after the div, we are going to create another div. It is going to have a class name of HeroSection content box, and then space about -- section box. Inside of this div, we're going to have another div with another class name. It's going to be HeroSection and content. And then inside of this content, we're going to create a paragraph with a class name. Here, let's see, section title. And inside of here, we're going to write about. And then after the P, we're going to have a H1. It's going to have a class name as well. We're going to call that skills section heading. Inside of here, we're going to say about me. And then after the H1, another paragraph with another class name. And here, hero section with a single line description. And here, lorem 30. Then we can copy this whole paragraph down. Same description. We're just going to cut down a bit on the text. Like so. And that is everything for our JSX. We can close that. We can go into our app CSS. We can create a new comment here about us. And here we want to target the about section. And we want to display in grid. We want to give it a padding of 133.3 and 85.3 pixels. Let's not forget pixels here as well. And we want to align items to the center. And we want to give it a gap of 114.6 pixels. And a grid template columns of repeat to 1 FR. Like so. Looking great. Then under here we want to have our about section image, and we want to target the image inside of there. We want to give it a width of 100% and a height of 100%. Like so. And then let's copy this comment. About us ends. Under here, we are going to start with creating our My Portfolio starts here. Okay, now let's go back to our index.js file and let's copy down this one. We're gonna say My Portfolio, like so. We don't have it yet created, so that's why we haven't exported anything. That's why it's giving us an error. Let's go to My Portfolio. We're gonna import data from //data, and then here it's gonna be index JSON file. Then we are gonna export default function My Portfolio, and inside of here we're gonna return, and inside of here we're gonna return a section like so. And then if we save, that should have solved that. Let's add a class name here, portfolio section, and also an ID of my portfolio, like so. Inside of here, we are gonna add a div It is going to have a class name of portfolio container box, and inside of this and inside of here we're going to have another div. It is going to have a class name of portfolio container. Inside of that container, we're going to have a paragraph with the class name subtitle, and then recent projects, like so. Let's see my portfolio. That's why we haven't imported it yet. My portfolio, like so, and that solves our bug here. There we go. And we have our portfolio down here, as we can see in the little text here. Okay, moving on. After our P element, we're going to write an H2. We're going to give it a class name as well, section, heading, and we're going to write my portfolio. As we can see there, after the div, we're going to create another div, give that a class name of another div. Inside of here, we're going to create a button that we're going to give a class name of btn and also btn GitHub, like so. And now we're going to fill in an SVG, and that's basically a picture made up of code, and it's a lot of code to type. So there is also a link in the description where you can just copy paste the code for this button here. So just copy paste in the entire button and replace the button element here. And as you can see, that would have been a lot of code to type. And there we go. So this link is actually to, that's a Dribble a link or icon, but you can easily switch this with a GitHub logo that you want. And then we have our visit my GitHub text here. And then after this div and after the next div, we are gonna have another div. It is gonna have a class name, and there we're gonna write portfolio --section --container, like so. Inside of here, we are going to create, we're going to map over our data, similar to how we did with our skills. I'm going to say question mark dot portfolio question mark dot, and then we're going to map over what we receive here, item, and the index. And then let's be sure to not use curly brackets here. Then inside of here, we are going to create a div like so. And this div is going to have a key, and that's going to be of index. And it's also going to have a class name set to portfolio section card. And then inside of here, we're going to have a div. It is also going to have a class name, and that's going to be portfolio section image. And inside of here, we're going to have an image. The source we are going to get from the data source, like so, and that's going to be the item dot image, and then the alt text is just going to be placeholder, like so. We are not actually getting any data here, so we're not showing anything because we haven't created this data in the JSON file, but we're going to do that shortly. After this image div, we are going to create another div. It is going to have a class name of portfolio section card content. And inside of this div, we are going to have another div. And inside of this div, we're going to have an h3 with a class name portfolio section title. And inside of this h3, we are going to have the item dot title. Then after the h3, we're going to have a paragraph with a class name. The class name is going to be text.md for medium. And here as well, we are going to target the item dot description, like so. Then after this div, we are going to have another paragraph. It is going to have a class name of text sm and portfolio -- link. And this is going to be another SVG file, so I'm going to ask you to go into the description and copy the next link that you see as well, that is called the portfolio link. Just copy the whole P element and you're just going to paste it in here and replace this one. Now let's add our actual data so we can see how it renders. Let's go into our index.json file. As we can see, we have our skills. We can copy all this code like so, Shift Alt down, and then we're gonna name this portfolio. Something is breaking. Oh yeah, we need a comma here, portfolio. So now we are getting the same as the skills, which is wrong, of course. So the IDs are gonna stay the same, and we only have 3, so we can remove the last one here, like so. You can close the terminal to get a better view. IDs stay the same. Here it's going to be image, placeholder image, and then the title is going to be hues. The description is going to stay lorem ipsum, and we're going to add a link, and this is going to be view in GitHub, like so. We're going to add that link to all of them. Like so. The images are not showing up. We're going to reload the page. Let's fix all of the image tags first and see if something is up. Placeholder image, and then -1, placeholder image -2. Okay, title hues. The next title is going to be app dashboard, and the third title is going to be easy rent. Okay, the titles are updating, the images are not showing. The images are showing here. Here's the problem, I think. It's item image, it should be item source. And we also wrote SRS instead of SRC. That was the issue there as well. So we misspelled this part. So fix that in myPortfolio.jsx. You can close that. And now the images should be displaying. Perfect. Now let's style it. We can close our index. We can close the index.jsx and go back to app CSS. Here we can write portfolio section display flex padding of 1112 pixels, 85 pixels, and then the flex direction of column, and also align items of flex start, and also a gap of 80 pixels, like so. Next up, we want to have our portfolio container box, and here we want to have display of flex, and we want to have a justify content of space between. We want to have align items to the center, and we want to have a width of 100%, like so. Next up, we want to have our portfolio container, and here we want to have a display of flex as well. We want to have a flex direction of column. We want to have an align items to flex start, and we want to have a gap of 21.3 pixels. Then we want to target our portfolio section container. Let's see, section container. We want to give that a display of flex as well. And then, let's see, like that. We want to give it a flex direction of column. We want to align the items to flex start. And we want to give it a gap of 21.3 pixels. Like so. And we also want to give it a width of 42.6 pixels, like so. Then we want to target the portfolio section image, and the image within that, oh no, sorry, not yet, the image, and we want to give it a border radius of 8 pixels, and we want to give it a width of 100%. Then let's copy this code down and target the images within them. And we want to give them a width of 100%. And then we're going to target the portfolio section card. And inside of here, we're going to say display flex. We are going to say flex direction column. We are going to say align items flex start. We're going to say gap of 32 pixels. We're going to say flex of 100. We're going to say background of FFF. We're going to say box shadow 0, 32 pixels, 0 RGBA, 0.0.0.0.15, and then we are going to give the cursor a pointer, and we are going to give the border radius, border top left radius 12 pixels. Let's copy that down. Border top right radius 12 pixels. And then portfolio section card content. I'm going to target that, say display flex, and padding 32 pixels, flex direction column, align items center, and give it a gap of 32 pixels. Actually, the align items here should be flex start and align self to stretch. So something is not looking good here. Let's see, inspect. They should be side by side. Let's see this part. So let's go through our section here, portfolio section container. It has a display flex, align. Okay. This should be align items to the center. And then we should have a justify content here to the center. Gap width. And then as well, there shouldn't be a gap here. We just copy that from this one. This should actually be the gap, like so. And the width should be 100%. Okay, now we are correct, and it's looking great. Now we can move on under our portfolio section card content. We're gonna target our portfolio section title, and we're gonna target color variable, heading color, and then we're gonna target the portfolio link, and we're gonna say text decoration none. We're gonna say display flex. We're gonna say gap 16 pixels. We're gonna say border bottom 1.33 pixels, solid variable primary, and we're gonna give it a padding bottom of 10.6 pixels, as well as a font weight of 600. Then we're gonna have the target the portfolio section card and hover and then path, and we're gonna say stroke hashtag 006 B6A. Save that, and then here we can write portfolio ends. Then we can move on to our testimonials. First up, let's go into our index.json folder. We are gonna copy our portfolio section here. Let's add a comma here and copy it down, Shift Alt down. Let's remove the last comma. Let's call this testimonial, like so. ID 1, we're gonna say, add another here, say count. And we are gonna say that this is 5. The source is gonna be image, avatar image. The description is gonna be just lorem ipsum, and then the new one here is gonna be author, and actually author underscore name, and here we're gonna have Diane Russell, like so, and then author underscore designation, and we're gonna say Starbucks, and let's copy this one down, just erase these like so. ID 2, ID 3, count 5 on both of them. Image, we're going to say 1 here, and image 2 here. We're going to change the names. Kristen Watson, and we're going to say Louis Vuitton, and we're going to say Catherine Murphy, and that's gonna be McDonald's, like so. I think the images I have are men, but the names are female, so never mind that. Then we are gonna open our Testimonials.js file. We are going to import the data from data/index.json. Under here, we're going to export default function, and this one is going to be called testimonial, and like so. We're going to return, and then we are going to return a section here. Inside of this section, we're going to have a class name, testimonial section, as well as an ID of testimonial. And let's turn on word wrap. Inside of the section, let's just write hello for now. And then we are gonna go into our index.jsx file, and we are gonna reference that here. Testimonial, like so. Slash, and also import it here, and we see that hello has popped up. Back in our Testimonials.jsx file, we're going to delete the hello, add a div, give it a class, portfolio container box. Inside of here, div, class name, portfolio container. Inside of here, paragraph, class name, subtitle, clients feedback, and then h2 class name sections heading, and here we're going to say customer feedback. Let's see, they're showing up. Then under this div, we're going to add another div. It's going to have a class name of portfolio section container. Inside of here, we're going to also map some data. Like so. Testimonial. Like so. Map over the item and the index, and then we are gonna run this. We're gonna return a div like so. Inside of this div, there's gonna be a key. It is gonna have the index property. I have written MAU and not map. Like so, and then additional to the key, we're going to have a class name, testimonial section card, and then inside of that, we are going to have a div. It is going to have a class name as well, testimonial section card review, and inside of here we are gonna take an array from, and we're gonna say that the length is 5, and then after this we are gonna write reviews index, and then an arrow function that is going to give us another SVG. So I'm just going to ask you to copy paste everything from the array, everything within the SVG. We're just going to add here and hit save. And here we have our stars. Now under this div, after these three, under this div, we're gonna add a paragraph. It's gonna be a class name, text, MD. And in here, we are gonna have an item dot description. Like so, and under here we're gonna have a div, give it a class name, testimonial section card author detail, and inside of this div we're gonna have a image. That source is going to be item.source, like so. The alt text is gonna be avatar, and then under the image we are gonna create another div. Inside of here we are gonna create a paragraph with the class name text MD testimonial author name, and inside of here we are gonna put the item author underscore name author name, like so. Then we can copy the whole paragraph down. This is going to be author designation. And we just change the author designation, like so. And then we have all our things we need here. Let us go into our style sheet and add the styling. So we are going to start with our testimonial section. Then that's going to be a display of flex. Then we're going to add a padding of 112 pixels and 84.3 pixels. Then we're going to add a flex direction of column. Then we are going to align the items to flex start. Then we're going to give it a gap of 80 pixels, and we're going to give it a background color of variable BG shade. Then we're going to target the section. Let's see, section heading, sections actually, sections heading. We're going to give it a color of variable heading color. Did I write that correctly? Sections heading, okay. Let's search for that. Sections heading, okay. Control F and you can search. So I did write that correct. Okay, back to our CSS. Then we're going to target our testimonial section card. We're going to display flex. We are going to give it a padding of 42.6 px. We are going to give the flex direction column. We are going to align the items to the flex start. We're going to give a gap to 42.6 pixels. We are going to give a flex. We are going to give a flex of 100, and we're going to give them a border radius of 8 pixels, and we're going to give them a border of 1.33 pixels solid, and then hashtag 006B6A, like so. Looking good. Then under here we're going to target the testimonial section card reviews, and then we're going to say display flex as well. Align items flex start, and then a gap of 5.33 pixels. Then we're going to target the testimonial section card author detail, and then we're going to say display flex as well. We are going to align the items to the center, and we're going to give them a gap of 21.3 pixels. Then we're going to target the testimonial author name. We are going to give it a font weight of 600, and we're going to give it a color of variable and heading color. Last but not least, we're going to target the testimonial author, and we're going to change the name to designation, and we're going to change the color to the variable dark blue. We are going to give it the font size of 16 pixels, font weight of 400, and line height of 150%. Then we can say that our testimonial ends. Great. Looking good. Now we can start on our Contact Me section. We can close our index.js file, testimonials. Let's keep the index.js open. And let's open our, let's see, ContactMe.jsx file. We're gonna export default function contact me, and then we are gonna return a section. Inside of this section we are gonna say hello just to test, and then we are gonna say contact me like so, and hello is showing up. Great. Then let's take away that. I'm gonna give this an ID of contact. We are gonna give it a class name of contact section. Turn word wrap on. Inside of the section, I'm gonna create a div with the class name, subtitle, and get in touch. That is showing up great. Actually, this is not here. Let's copy paste that. Let's cut it. Create a paragraph with a class name of subtitle, and this div doesn't actually have anything, like so. And paste it in there. There we go. Page 2 is next. We are just gonna write contact me, then another paragraph with a class name of text LG, and inside of here lorem 10. Hit enter. There we go. Under the div we're gonna have a form. We can remove the action, and we're gonna add a class name. It's gonna have a contact form container, then a div within here, the class name container, and then we're gonna have a label. The HTML4 is gonna be first name, and here we're gonna also have a class name contact label. Inside of the form, or inside of the label, we're gonna have a span with a class name of text MD, and here we're gonna say first name. Let's see, is that showing up? It is. And then under the span we're gonna have an input, and it's gonna have the type of text. That's correct. It is also gonna have a class name of contact input, and also text MD. In addition, it's gonna have a name of first name, It is also gonna have an ID of first name. It is gonna have a required, or it is gonna be a required field. There we go. Then we can copy this whole section, this whole label. Let's see, there we go. As we can see, it's showing up here, that's great. Then it's gonna be Shift D, and we can change this to last and create a capital here. Same thing, copy paste it down, because we can see, that the last name is showing up. Copy paste down again, the whole label. Next one is going to be email. So target last name, change it to email, and change this one as well to email with capital E. And the type here is going to be email. The ID is going to be email, everything email. Okay, great. Let's copy it down one more time. Target all the emails. Now we're going to say phone number. And the type is going to be number, like so. Then we're going to copy this label. We're going to go below the div. We're going to paste in what we copied. And here we're going to say choose topic. The class name is going to be contact label, that's correct. The span is correct, and here we're going to say choose topic, or choose a topic. And then we're not going to have an input, but we are going to have a select. And the ID and the name, let's actually see, we don't actually need a name here. Let's have an ID, choose topic, and then a class name of contact, input, text, MD, and then inside of the select, we're going to create an option, and the value we don't need now. Let's see, we're just going to say select 1, and then let's copy this down. I'm going to say item 1, item 2, and 3. There we have them. Zoom in a bit more, it's a bit easier to see. Then after the label, we're going to add another label. It is going to be HTML for message, and that's going to be contact label. Here it's going to say message, and instead of input, it is going to be a, let's see, text area. It is going to be not required. It's going to be an ID of message, same as name, also message. The type is going to be, we can actually take away the type. We also don't need the name actually. So ID, class name, rows, and it's going to be 8. Like so, and then we're going to have a placeholder to type your message, ... Here we see it's showing up. Then under the label, let's create another label. It is going to be HTML4 check box. It's going to have a class name of check box label, and then an input. It's going to have a type of check box. It is going to have a required field. It is going to have a class name. Actually, it's not going to have a class name. It is going to have a name set to checkbox. It is going to have an ID set to checkbox. And it is going to be a, well, that's all I think. Then under this input, we are going to have a span. And this span is going to say class name text MD or SM. And in here, it's going to say I accept the terms. And see, we can check that. And then under the label, we're going to have a div. Inside the div, a button with a class name btn primary, and also contact form btn, and then submit like so. That is all for our ContactMe.jsx. Now we can go ahead and style it in our app.css. The first part we're going to contact or target is the contact section. And here we're going to display flex. We are going to give it a padding of 150 pixels times 85 pixels. And we're going to give it a flex direction of column. We're going to justify the content to the center. We are going to align items to the center, and we are going to text align to the center as well. And then we're going to give it a gap of 64 pixels. Then we're going to target the contact form container, and we are going to display that with a flex, actually grid. We're going to give it a grid template columns of auto. We're going to give it a grid template rows of repeat 5 auto. We are going to give it a width of 40%, and we're going to give it a row gap of 32 pixels. Then we're going to go into the container, display grid template columns repeat to auto column, let's see, gap 32 pixels, row gap 32 pixels. Then we are going to target the contact label. We are going to display it using flex. We are going to give it a flex direction of column. Then we're going to align the items to flex start. We are going to give it a gap of 10.6 pixels, and we're going to give it a flex of 100 and a width of 100, like so, looking better and better. Then we're going to target the contact input, display flex font family Roboto, padding 16 pixels, align items to the center, and align self to stretch, and the border radius to 8 pixels, and a border 1.33 pixels, solid variable primary, and then also a background of the variable white. That is looking good. Then another thing you're just gonna go and find in the description to copy paste in, because it's a lot to write, and that is this part, which is the select box. So you can just go ahead and copy paste that into the code you have. Then we are going to target the check box label, and we're going to go and find the display, flex, and flex direction row, align items center, gap 10.6 pixels, and flex of 100, as well as justify content flex start. Then we are gonna target the input of the type of checkbox. I'm gonna give it a width 21 pixels. I'm gonna give it a height of 21 pixels. We are gonna give it a border of 0.15 em, solid variable heading color, and a border radius of 0.15 em, and then we are going to transform it, translate y minus 0.075 em, 0.75 em, and zeros, there we go. Then we are done with our contact end, and now we are ready for our footer. Footer start. So let's open up our Footer.jsx here. We are using a lot of SVG pictures here, so I'm just actually going to ask you to go into the repo in the description and copy paste the whole file that is in the footer, because it's not really essential things. It's pretty much what we have done so far, with a lot of images here for the different logos. So we're not going to type that over and over again. It's just very repetitive, and we've already gone through this exact syntax. So go into the repo, copy the Footer.jsx file, either just drop it in here and save over it, or just copy the code and paste it in like I just did. Then we're going to go into our index.js file. We are going to add our footer like so. Save that, and we see that we have our footer here. And we are also just going to copy paste in the rest of the code as this video is getting a bit long and it's a bit repetitive. It's the same styling. We are giving it a flex and we are deciding to position them in accordance to each other. But it's nothing new regarding this tutorial from line 509. So just copy paste in the rest of the code like so. And that is going to include the code to style the footer as well as styling the navbar when it turns into a hamburger menu. So we can check if we decrease the screen size here. It has indeed turned into a navigation menu with the correct styling to make it look like a hamburger menu. So there we go. We have our portfolio. We have our About Me. We have our testimonial. Oh, it's not working. So let's check. Let us check now. Let's see. It is looking good on mobile. Things are showing up as intended. It's looking good. The nav here is working. Home. That is working. Testimonials, that is working. The testimonials in here is not working. Let's check out that. About Me is working. Portfolio is working. Home is working. Okay, so we have a bug in the testimonials in the navigation here. Let's check out that. If we go to the nav bar, let us open this, extend it a bit. We are in, let's see, testimonials. I wonder if we were to testimonial. Save that. No. Let's see. No, it is indeed testimonials. Here we have the error. It's a capital T. Change that. Testimonials. There we go. So we have our website working. It looks like it is fully mobile responsive. How does it look on the big screen? We haven't checked that yet, actually. It's looking really nice. Cool. Okay. Nice. Okay. We can click that. We can submit. Shows us that it's required. Cool. We can navigate here. We can open Instagram if we want. Cool. Things are working. Contact Me sends us here. You can also direct yourself with get in touch contact, or maybe it sends you to your LinkedIn as you want. So now let's actually deploy it on Netlify, and I'm going to show you how to do that. So we're going to open our terminal again, make sure we are in the actual project folder. We're going to run npm run build, and that has just created a build file for us that we can use on Netlify. So as we can see here, we have a build folder here now. If you don't have a Netlify account, go to netlify.com and simply create one with your email or a Google account, whatever you want. You can log in with your GitHub as well. So once you are logged in, it's going to look a bit like this. You're going to click Add New Site. You're going to deploy manually. Now you can right click on this build folder. You can reveal in Finder or reveal in folder. And you can just drag and drop this build file here into here. And then it's going to take a little time to kind of deploy it. It doesn't usually take that long time. Also, our site is not that complicated. It says that the site is live. Let's go to the site overview. That is very promising. And then we can click here. And we see that we have gotten a URL with our very own site, fully deployed and accessible to people. How cool is that? So here we have our finished site fully coded and deployed on the internet. If you want to change this URL to something more unique, you can do that by going to Netlify. You can go to domain settings. You can go and scroll down here. You click options here, edit site name, and you can say my awesome React project. Let's see, project. Save. And now that's the new domain. How cool is that? So I'm going to link the finished website, deployed website down in the description as well as the GitHub repo to the project, and that's also where you're going to be finding where to copy paste the code that we have been using in the tutorial. If you like this tutorial, then here is another video for you that I suggest and I think that you also might like. Until the next time, see ya!